Hello, everybody. I want to thank you all for coming here and listening to this presentation and many of the other very interesting presentations. I'll talk to you in English. I hope you can understand or get it translated. And the topic that I will talk to you about today is a very important, very interesting topic. It's a topic that will probably change our future in more than many of us realize today. It's about privacy and also, more importantly, ownership of information on the internet. This is the biblical battle of David against Goliath, or as I say, a little sister against big brother, the Orwellian allegory of the surveillance state that controls and knows everything. At the root of all this is the question of privacy, and privacy is a matter that we shouldn't have to discuss, but we have to do it anyway. It's a human right, and when you talk to people, they often don't know really what it is or can't define it. So we start by defining what privacy is, and it's the right for everybody to have a conversation in confidence with somebody else. We have the right to talk confidentially, we have the right to decide to whom we speak, and we have the right to do this without monitoring or having our intentions questioned. And so we can ask ourselves, does this right extend further than the words that we speak? Does it extend to the written word? Does it extend to the electronic word? Or does it extend even to our things that today are connected to the internet and talk about us? They talk about information that relates to us. Well, an electricity meter in your home lets anybody know if you're home or not. Do you want a burglar to know that? Or the water meter lets anybody know when you take a shower. Would you like a pervert to know that? The telephone lets people know where you go, and wearable devices let people know your health status. Would you like your insurance company to know when you have physical problems? You can control vehicles. Would you like somebody to be able to control your pacemaker? And so these are very important questions, and more things get connected every day. And even more importantly, everything we do today on the internet is in a social context. We work with social networks. And these are, you could say quite safely, completely void of any privacy, regardless of what people say. So third parties know what you think, what you like, what you do, where you go. It's the perfect spying tool, if you want. And even worse, companies today use social networks to interchange information between each other, confidential information, trade secrets, novel ideas, and you don't know who has access to this information. In recent years, there have been some effort to control and to legislate who has access to information about you and what they can do. One of the most important such efforts is the European Union privacy legislation, which goes under the name of General Data Protection Regulation. And basically, if we want to summarize a couple of hundred pages into a few sentences, you could say it regulates any information that is either directly or indirectly to any level related to an individual. And this individual can be any European citizen in any system in the world, or any world global citizen in any system that is run in Europe. And it provides means to audit systems. So authorities can enter any company and claim audit and see how the systems are built, and they can fine companies a minimum fine of 20 million euros and a maximum fine of 4% of the global turnover. So this is obviously a problem for any company in the world. And to summarize what it says, it's difficult, but you could say it's based on individual consent and explicit information about what is done with your information. This is at least a first step. But privacy is not ownership. Privacy is one matter, ownership is another. And we should ask ourselves, who is the owner of the information that we communicate? Is it the person or entity that generates the information? Is that the owner? It can be a person inventing something or a machine sensing something. Is it the person or entity that stores the information, that controls it? Or is it the person to whom the information relates to? Or is it even important? So if you ask a lawyer, he will shrug, or she will shrug, and have no clue, because there is no law that defines ownership of information. There are 4 laws that could be applied that are close: copyright law, trade secrets, or intellectual property legislations, or the privacy legislation. But there is no practical means to enforce and control ownership. And so if we take a step back and think, okay, how do we define ownership of material things? So if you take your jewels and put it on the side of the road outside your house and people steal it, can you claim that they stole your things, or have you been careless? So ownership is defined by some things in registries, but most of our things are defined by that we demonstrate ownership somehow. We protect important things behind a lock and key. We control access to the things to people we trust, and we make sure, we monitor it, we make sure that it's still there. If you haven't seen your things in 50 years, it's difficult to claim that you still own it. And with data and information, we can do the same thing if we store it locally. So this is a big if. If we store information locally, we can do exactly the same thing. We can protect it behind lock and key. We can limit access to the information. We can monitor it, and thus demonstrate that we own the information, and we can force it. But this paradigm has an added benefit, a feature. It provides a means to calculate or to give value to information, because now the information is restricted, and everything restricted has a value. And so you can convert access to your data. If somebody is interested in your data, you can convert this into an economic transaction, and you have defined a mechanism and a market for information. Now, all these reasons that I've explained, the concerns, raise awareness now. More and more people understand that the current paradigm on how information systems are made, that is centralization in the cloud, it's not suitable, it's not sufficient to address these issues that are very important to people. So centralization is a risk. Decentralization, local storage, provides a much better means to control privacy and ownership. What I'm here to tell you is that there is also actually no need in many cases for centralized storage, because advances in standards and communication technologies are now so at such a level that you can actually do more or less the same things in a decentralized manner, with the added benefit of controlling your property, information property. I will end this presentation with a discussion about security, because security is also an important factor, and decentralization affects security. Nobody, or most people, would avoid flying in a plane with only one engine. And why is that? Because if the engine fails, the plane goes down. Now, if you add more engines to a plane, the risk of engine failure is higher, but the consequences are much lower. You can continue flying with an engine failed. And the same thing happens to be the case with information. You have more attack surfaces, but the value of each node in the network is much smaller and much easier to protect. And the consequences of a data breach is much smaller. These massive data breaches are very difficult. Those that we have seen with WikiLeaks and Snowden would become very, very difficult. Such networks are also more resilient. Distributed attacks are more effective, and distributed information storage is more efficient for protecting us against such attacks. And it also provides a means to make sure that parties in between the communicating parties don't know what you're communicating about. And one of the biggest objections to these kinds of solutions that arise are that these tools and these information systems can be used, for instance, by criminals or terrorists to organize themselves in a way that cannot be monitored. This is one of the typical arguments for monitoring internet traffic. And there are two schools when it comes to decentralization. One advocates anonymization, which is a tool that protects whistleblowers or dissidents, or criminals or terrorists. The problem with this approach is that it's very difficult for the information owner to know to whom the information is being sent, especially if we talk about things. So the alternative is what is called strong identities or pseudonyms. If every actor has a strong global identity, it might sound as if this would invade privacy, but it actually does not. It protects privacy because now the information owner has a tool to know to whom the information is being sent. So information can be shared. The information owner can select exactly whom should receive this information in a very secure manner. And this actually helps privacy, not the contrary. And so I will end this presentation saying that I work with distributed social network software for machines and individuals and organizations that are based on this principle of privacy and ownership. These are not ideas for the future. They exist today. And people and organizations can take control of their information and their properties again. And with that, I thank you for listening.